Okay, so climate change and greenhouse fundamental we have covered, where we discussed about weather and climate. Anybody has a doubt on this? Or climate, what is the climate change all about? What is the climate change and pollution? The evidence of climate change? Yeah, anybody has any question on this? This is your time. We also did quiz on the same, and most of you did fairly well. Now today, we will be starting with concept of what is greenhouse gas effect, right? And I always tell a story behind the greenhouse gas effect, that you should always be imagining a situation where a kid requires a blanket sometime, right, to feel cozy inside it and getting warm. Now you know that as a property of quilt is not to warm you. It's your own body which warms you. How many of you understand that concept? Who has kid in house, they must be knowing it. Who doesn't have, they might have faced it, right? Quilt doesn't warm you. It's not a heater. And nowadays, there are quilts which are coming with a heater inside. But generally, quilt works on the fundamental of your body temperature. So your body temperature remains in a neatly weaved uh, cotton cloth or whatever clothing has been used by the quilt, and it keeps you warm. Same concept goes to greenhouse houses as well. Few of you have asked that. I'm not very clear with the greenhouses. So let me tell you that it is exact like how a kids require a blanket to get warm. It's a nature's thermal blanket. So greenhouse gases are actually nature thermal blanket, or greenhouse gas effect is basically effect which gets created through nature thermal blanket. Now imagine Earth is wrapped around a cozy blanket, and that keeps it warm enough for life to thrive. Yeah, why I'm saying this is statement enough to life to thrive is otherwise there is no blanket. What will happen? What will be the temperature of Earth? We discussed this yesterday, right? I told you that immediately the Earth temperature will go down to minus 18 degrees centigrade. Now, this blanket, which is made up of greenhouse gases in the case of nature thermal blanket, gases are carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, and atmosphere. These are some of the gases which in coherence act in a way that Earth gets warmer. How it works? Sunlight arrives, the sun sets energy to the Earth from in form of light, right? Some of this energy gets absorbed in the Earth's surface and warms it. Some of it. Some of it, Earth radiates these heat. The moment Earth gets warm, there is a radiation happens which goes back into atmosphere. Now, this warm Earth releases this energy back into atmosphere as a infrared radiation. Remember this word, infrared radiation, which is a heat. Now, without this greenhouse gases, the heat will escape into the space. And you know, space is anant. Yeah, it's infinite. So we will not have any problem. But our planet in that case will be freezing, right? Negative 18 degree immediately. So what happens? This atmosphere layer traps this heat. These greenhouse gases, which is in the atmosphere in form of uh, methane, carbon dioxide, etc., they trap some of this heat and reflect it back towards the Earth. That's the duty of these molecules. Okay. And this keeps our planet warm enough to support life. So we need it. It's not that we don't need the greenhouse gases. We do need the greenhouse gases. And current temperature, if somebody asks you, what is the current temperature of Earth today? Current temperature, if we are not talking about 1.5 degrees Celsius extra, what is the average temperature of Earth, not in our atmosphere? Anybody who can guess it? क्या है टेम्परेचर हमारे अर्थ का? What is the temperature our Earth carries normally?
Uh, I think it's 9 degrees.
You are nearby. You are nearby. It's 15 degree or 59 degree Fahrenheit. That's the temperature of Earth. 40 degree, 30 degree, these are the weather temperature, which we measure and report, right? So 15 degrees is सीधा negative 18 degree. We are talking about approximately 32 degree, 33 degree drop will happen if there is no greenhouse gases. So that is the problem. The greenhouse effect is a natural and necessary, However, the problem comes when the human intervention come into play. Okay. And that is the trouble because human activity like burning fossil fuel, deforestation are adding extra greenhouse gases in atmosphere. And these extra gases are enhancing the greenhouse effect and which is trapping more heat, and trapping more heat is leading to global warming or climate change. So in short, greenhouse effect is a natural way, like too many greenhouse gases can turn up the heat too much and causing problem to rising sea level. All those three effects which we saw yesterday. Yeah, you remember that, correct? Now let me ask you a question. Is my quiz is on? Is it showing? Okay, it's already showing the answer. Okay, fair. Okay, so now the question was, which greenhouse gas do you think is the most concerning? An answer is in front of you, so I will not discuss that. But you have to understand there are different types of greenhouse gases, which is natural occurring and human generated. And this is the actual diagram which you should be knowing on the greenhouse gas effect side, right? And CO2 level has risen by 50%, and that's what is concerning world today due to industrial revolution. And there are five industrial revolution happened till today. Industrial revolution, and another problem is these industrial revolution have a shorter time span now. Initially, from industry 1.0, from having steam engine, railways, etc., railroads, etc., from there to industry 2.0 took 100 year, 99 year to be exact. Okay. Then the next one was for 49 years, which is industry 2.0 to 2.3, industry 3.0. Industry 3.0 to 4.0 has reduced down to 20 years since 2000. If you know, of course, 80s computer came, in 20s we have internet, 2000 we have internet, e-commerce, etc. And in 2020, we had a completely different discussion. In 2023, even we are talking about now AI as a new industrial revolution, AI and ML, right? And the data center and this fast-paced industrial revolution is increasing the intensity of carbon emission in environment. Data center is a major culprit right now. Yeah. And that is why we should be worried about. Now, Kyoto Protocol, of course, we have seen the major outcome of the same. Paris Agreement also we have seen three outcomes which are key outcomes, where the limiting global warming 1.5 degree above pre-industrial levels and keeping it below 2 degree was our major objective. Now, which are the primary greenhouse gases where we stopped yesterday, right? So the diagram in left shows you that how this whole cycle works. As I have told you, Earth has its own system to manage the carbon emission and suck it out. It has its own system, but it has failed because of these industrial revolution. Now, one of those gases which are key here is carbon dioxide. Now, it is a vital component of atmosphere, as you are aware. If that is not there, tree could not survive. To survival of tree, they need carbon dioxide, and they process that carbon dioxide. Of course, there is a new theory which has been recently launched that not all tree requires carbon dioxide. There is another theory which has come. So I'm not talking about the recent one, but what is established phenomena, I'm talking that carbon dioxide generally tree needs it, and it is released through natural processes like volcanic eruption and through a human activity such as burning fossil fuel and deforestation. If you cut the tree, automatically there will be extra carbon dioxide, which is not been observed by those trees, which otherwise could have absorbed it. For example, there is a big controversy going on right now in Brazil. How many of you are aware about that controversy? Where there is a Amazon
One
forest.
for COP,
Yeah, go ahead,
the
Anjali.
upcoming COP, but they're like cutting down the Amazon to create a highway. That one?
Highway to entertain what?
The COP only.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a conference of party to have a green discussion. They have cut 8 miles or 80 miles, something like that. It's a massive amount of tree which has been cut. 8 kilometers, I don't remember now. But the massive controversy has erupted there. And it looks right in the full of forest, they have created one road inside. So this has not been acceptable. And this is how it starts everything. Once they will do this road, then there will be somebody who is coming and enjoying that roadside trees and cutting them and bringing to their home. So point here is the human side of it is a problematic. The natural side, which is shown in the process, is still required, right? And that shows the carbon sink and the carbon emitters. Now, if you see natural sources, there are key natural sources, which starts from volcanic outgassing. So in volcanic eruption, there is a outgassing happens. So there is a trapped gases beneath the earth, as we are aware about it, through which the fossil fuel gets extracted, gas and fuel, which we extract, crude oil, which we extract. These are trapped out gases, which gets out in the atmosphere. So that's the one. Second one is the forest fires now. It has become a major phenomena in natural sources. Okay, it's man-made. We know sometimes we are the one who is doing it, but in the ideal cases, it is a natural case as well. Organic matter burning is another reason and natural source which also creates carbon dioxide. Natural decay, is another process through which it happens, and then aerobic. These are the key ones which I am putting in front of you, which you should be recalling whenever it is required. Aerobic is basically the oxygen using organism. They use oxygen and emit carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Mostly algae we are talking about. Then human sources. Of course, you are aware about burning of fossil fuel. Creation of cement for transportation is another one, where we transportation and construction. Heating is the other one. Power generation, forest fires, man-made ones here comes in play, and land clearances. These are the few which are human sources. So carbon dioxide is vital, but now intensity is increasing from 71.6%. It has reached to 71.6% in 2022, which we should be careful about. Now, let's quickly look into why CO2 is critical.
So I have this one question. Answer one question.
Okay, go ahead. Ask the question.
That organic matter burning, how is that natural sources?
Okay, very good question. Organic matter burning is natural causes. And the reason we are talking about the same which goes to the forest fires. Okay.
That's it, right? Like there's nothing different because
forest fire,
by heat and the sun, that's okay. But otherwise, it's obviously by man-made.
Any reason through which organic matter burns. It is not necessary you only are burning, right? There are natural processes through which it burns is a part of that. Yeah. Let's listen in why CO2 is critical. Very good snippet.
CO2, it's the gas we associate with climate change, but it's also needed for life on Earth to function normally. How our planet manages the levels of CO2 is called the carbon cycle. CO2 is released into the atmosphere, for example, by animals' respiration, forest.
Did you hear from beginning? Or just now only?
No, it started from the beginning. Now it stopped.
Okay, you were able to hear
CO2, it's the gas we associate with climate change, but it's also needed for life on Earth to function normally. How our planet manages the levels of CO2 is called the carbon cycle. CO2 is released into the atmosphere, for example, by animals' respiration, forest fires, even agriculture. Plants reabsorb the CO2 through photosynthesis. But in the 1800s, that process started to change radically. It started with fossil fuels, sources of energy trapped deep underground from the fossilized remains of plants and animals. For the fuel to power everything from your car, to the furnace in your home or office building, to the plane you take on your next vacation. We owe the modern world to them.
We often describe Earth's atmosphere as a kind of invisible blanket sitting atop Earth's surface.
Matthew Osman is an assistant professor of climate science at the University of Cambridge. He says Earth's atmosphere naturally contains greenhouse gases that make life on Earth possible.
Without CO2, life on Earth actually wouldn't be possible. It's estimated that without carbon dioxide, Earth's surface would be somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 35 degrees Celsius cooler than it is at present.
But when more CO2 gets released into the atmosphere through human activity, that's when things become problematic. Burning fossil fuel re-releases all the CO2 that was locked underground all those years ago. That CO2 gets lodged into the atmosphere. CO2 is a relatively simple molecule composed of one atom of carbon and two atoms of oxygen. When heat from the Earth's surface gets beamed back into space, it gets absorbed by the CO2 in the atmosphere. As the CO2 absorbs that energy, its molecules move faster and faster. And as they do, they transmit heat energy around to other molecules, causing them to move faster as well. That cycle repeats itself over and over, trapping heat energy and warming the planet in the process. All because of a naturally occurring molecule that's being emitted into our atmosphere at levels that have risen exponentially since the middle of the 20th century.
As we emit more and more CO2, we're going to warm the planet at a faster and faster rate,
fueling extreme weather and making life more expensive and challenging. Kamyar Razavi, Global News.
I hope that is clear now. Now let's understand nitrous oxide and why that is critical part. Second critical gas in greenhouse gas is nitrous oxide. Now, this is a naturally part of the nitrogen cycle, which is shown in the left-hand side. It's a natural cycle, okay, which stays in atmosphere for at least 121 years. It has a global warming potential, means it is one molecule to carbon dioxide versus one molecule of nitrogen oxide has a global warming potential of 265 times. Okay, end of the slides, you will see a complete table, which you can take a screenshot, where I will give you the GWP of each of the greenhouse gases. You will have that today. So nitrous oxide is a natural occurring substance in the atmosphere as a part of nitrogen cycle of the earth, which is seen like, all these animals, they excrete urea and urine, which is used as a fertilizer on the earth. That's why you see a lot of greenery wherever the grazing of cow and animals are happening. But eventually this converts into nitrification, and through leaching process, it goes into the river or nearby water bodies, which is NO3 in actual format. And now because of denitrification, the osmosis, in the sea happens, through which the water molecules go in the air. Similar process is denitrification for nitrous oxide to go inside the atmosphere, where it gets converted. One molecule of oxygen gets out and you have a nitrous oxide in the environment. Similar thing happens with the nitrogen fertilizer, which is urea. It's a major source of fertilizer currently, or at least in the developing world, it is the major source. Or effluent even. There are certain N2 fixations also, or NH3 volatilization or deposition. These are other processes which also creates NH4 or NO3, which again through denitrification goes to nitrous oxide in the atmosphere. Now, this science you need not to know, but I have just told you, you are now as educated as even the scientist. That's why I'm telling you. It doesn't mean that you need to know all this densification, leaching. Even sometimes I don't remember. But if somebody is talking, I know what he's talking about. That's why I'm telling you. Yeah. 3 keywords which you should not forget on nitrous oxide: 121 years of lifespan. Any nitrogen cycle, if it converts into nitrous oxide, that molecule remain in atmosphere for 121 years. And what is the global warming potential? 265 times. Clear? Where from it comes? It comes from the denitrification, leaching, and N2 fixation. These are 3 natural sources. And then there is human sources, where nitrification, I throw urea on the ground or the field for harvesting purposes. That also gets converted through N fertilizer or effluent. It gets converted into nitrous oxide. So these are the natural and human sources. Now, methane is another gas which is approximately now 18.1% in atmosphere under greenhouse gases. If you see 63.5, this is little dated data. 63.5 at that point in time was carbon dioxide. Other CFC was 12.2, nitrous oxide was 6.2, and methane was 18.1. But methane remains at 18 to 20% of the greenhouse gas emission numbers. And where they are maximum coming, they are coming from human activity nowadays maximum, which is 60% contributor. Which are those? Fossil fuels, through which also methane comes out. Farming, of course, meat production is the major source. Then you have rice paddies. Paddies cultivation also have a lot of water requirement and a lot of organic structure dies there, and they emit the CH4 and landfills. But there is another one which is major source on natural side, which is wetland, termite, and permafrost. And this is the major trouble. So glacier breaking is releasing massive amount of methane as well, apart from volcanic eruption. Okay, recent volcanic eruption, one of those which has been identified releasing methane emission is in, anybody knows where is it? And recently it is happening. It's a massive amount of methane is getting released in atmosphere. Which part of world it is happening and which country? You can find that on our LinkedIn page as well. There is a blog around it that Ethiopian volcanic eruption is releasing massive amount of methane currently. There is a detailed description why it has been observed and what is happening there. So if you want, you can go and search on our LinkedIn page. Now,
So I just wanted to ask that previously you mentioned the nitrogen stays for 121 years. What does that exactly mean? Like after 120 years, it starts decomposing, or
yes,
what is it?
it's
what it is.
It's a chemical, right? Chemical has
Yeah.
a property to decompose. So it gets decomposed but after 21 years. So 121 years is the massive amount, right? So you generate
Yeah.
your generation and next three generation remains in the
So,
shadow of that emission. That
Yeah.
is what the challenging part is. Clear? Next one is fluorinated gases. Now, fluorinated gases are completely different ball game. Now, if you're worried about 121 year, 28 year, then welcome to thousands of years. Fluorinated gases remain in atmosphere in excess of 5,100 minimum 5,100 20 years, a minimum 5,000 years they remain in the atmosphere, and they have a global warming potential starting from 5,100. So they are 5 times as lethal as the carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Clear? So even though they are 2%, 5% right now, 10% to be exact, but they are 10 times, not 10 times, even 1,000 times lethal than the carbon dioxide itself. And mostly it is coming and impacting the ozone layers. Mostly they react with ozone, O3, yeah, because there is a free molecule there which interacts with the fluorinated gases. Now, it is a mainly human-made. It is not found in natural sources yet. There are no natural sources. They have a high global warming potential and long atmospheric lifetime, right? These are the two major challenges. And there are 4 main categories in fluorinated gases. There are 4 main categories which people are curious about. So when you start reporting in carbon, in carbon dioxide emission or GHG carbon accounting, you need to classify them into that category, which is hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, which is PFCs, and sulfur hexafluoride 3, and last one is nitrogen trifluoride, so NF3. So these are the major 4 categories which we have to report on, and it is human source only. So air conditioner, refrigeration, transmission and distribution of electricity also creates this gas, along with semiconductor manufacturing, LCD manufacturing, and aluminum industry, right? So today morning's, I think, yeah, he's there in the session. Thank you very much, by the way. Somnath. Somnath has highlighted CEEW publishes this report, which has categorized Indian aluminum manufacturing to the tune of 21 or 22, you said, Somnath? 22 tons of carbon dioxide per tons of aluminum produced, correct? Somnath is there, right? I believe he's there. Okay. Was it Somnath, Sandeep or Anchika? You were there. Anybody who was there in the morning? Okay. So it was Somnath. I believe it was Somnath who highlighted, and that's why we allowed him today for the session. Really appreciate people like him coming and, contributing, because he does something in aluminum sector. Yeah, so he's practitioner of aluminum sector, so he knows exactly the emission factor. And DEFRA gives for the same emission, aluminum, emission factor, DEFRA gives 9. So you can understand 9 to 21. That's the difference. So that is why DEFRA is useless when we talk about Indian context. And you will go and you will find everyone, even the teachers. I go and ask them in different programs, right? They are saying use DEFRA. DEFRA means what? DEFRA is UK body. Okay, it's a UK authority who has developed certain standard according to their standard, which we talk to everyone who joins our program, but still they don't understand. It is a easy, free document available. People go refer it, take that data, put it into their carbon calculation and make a nasty report, which have no value in the market. Okay. And still company gets rated badly. So these are the challenges which we will be addressing in this course. Now, this is that slide which you can take a screenshot, which gives the actual GWP. Now, what is GWP? Nobody has asked me. Kailash asking me every other question, not the GWP. What is this, Kailash? At least for others also, you think?
Global warming potential. So, I mean, this is just about how strong they can be for the environment and so how harmful they can be. Like in terms of carbon dioxide, if that has a particular amount of global warming potential, then the others are a lot more. It's just numbers of how harmful they are to the environment.
Common sense always work. Thank you very much, Kailash. That shows that common sense work. Of course, you need to know technical, but you need to apply your common sense, which he applied and accurately he has explained it. But if you want to know actually in technical terms, you have to understand like this. GWP measure is how much heat a greenhouse gas absorbs over a specific period of time compared to CO2. This is the exact definition I'm telling you. 3 parts, remember that, and you will never forget. You will never apply common knowledge, Kailash, next time when you answer this question. What exactly it is? Global warming potential is a measure. Okay, what it measures? That how much heat a greenhouse gas, any of these 7 gases, absorb over a specific period of time. That's why you will see a specific period of time categorization. Are you seeing on the screen? 20 साल है,
Yes, sir.
100 year है, 500 year है. So that's the second part. Don't forget the second part. What is that? First part is that particular greenhouse gas absorbs over a period of time, which can be any period you can assume. Okay. Based on that, you will have the GWP. So anybody tomorrow comes and tells you that CFC 12 has 10,900 as a GWP measure, which is 10,900 times potency of the gas, you will tell him that, are you fool? You are talking about 100 years. Will you live there up to 100 years? Let's talk about 20 years first. What is that number? You tell me that. Okay. Here, still he can justify. Why? Because the number is very small. Difference is small, right? Kailash, will you agree? The difference between CFC 12 and CFC 12 20 year and CFC 12 100 year, 100. So he can justify what you are talking, Kailash, bringing some additional information. No need of this. Then you will take him to your own home turf, Kailash, and say, okay, tell me, I agree with you. There is no difference between 20 year and 100 year. In case of CFC 12, tell me, what about nitrogen fluoride, trifluoride?
It's a huge difference.
He will shit in his pants, okay? Because then he will realize that he is trying to take everybody for a ride. So this is how you should remember global warming potential. Anybody
Yeah,
has
but
any problem? 3 parts
yeah,
of GWP.
no, I just wanted to ask, like, say 20 years and 100 years.
Yeah.
But
And
then
500 years.
in between, if it's like, say 40, 50 years, then how do we calculate that for calculation purposes? I mean, like, what do we do for
Oh,
that?
no. Okay. Again, please understand what I'm trying to tell you. You are not a researcher, right? If you want to do research like Dr. Megha, then I can accept you ask me this question. I will try to reason with you. What we are doing here is we are trying to understand potency of a greenhouse gas, how lethal it is, right?
Yeah.
That discussion, I am, of course, if I will tell you that we can do there is a method to do it, right? That method is LCM method, right? You take both years difference, you take both potency difference and calculate it. But this will not work. Why it will not work? Put your common sense again, Kailash, which you are expert in. See gases, three gases, CFC, SCFC, and nitrogen trifluoride. What is the characteristics you are seeing? Are you in some cases it is going down,
Going down.
in some cases it's going up. So
Yeah.
there could not be a valuable, valid description towards it. There is an explanation to it. If you want to calculate 40-year, 30-year, 45-year, first of all, you have to have a purpose to it because there will be massive amount of research will go. Somebody has to invest in that research, right? So there has to be purpose. And then you need to take that gas and literally do a prototype working and then calculate it. So there is no other way. Miss, of course, there will be some quacks who can give you the ways, but I am not aware of any other way than empirical research on this topic. Okay, that's the standard.
So in terms of calculation for every yearly reports, it's just the 20-year value.
No, 20, 100, and 500 years. Why these timelines? Ask me why these timelines.
Yeah, why these timelines?
That's a good question to ask. I will tell you. Tell me what is the lowest in all these gases, greenhouse gases, who has the lowest time span? You remember? Methane,
So-
na? 28 साल है, 25 साल है.
अच्छा, हाँ, वैसा, हाँ, yeah.
So now, if methane doesn't there, it is not there in the atmosphere after 28 year. What is the point I measure on 100 year? Are you with me? That
Yeah.
is why 20 year has been developed. Now, there are certain gases which we just talked about. Tell me which gas lives for 121 year?
Nitrogen.
So 100 के ऊपर है तो 100 ले लिया, right?
Okay.
And then there is of course, there is a not in our lifetime will happen is CFCHF, right? Or tetrafluorometric. Why tetra? Again, we have put it here specifically because lot of you are using even in your home tetra packs, tetra Teflon coatings, right? So that is why we are talking about that. But point here is then we need another measure, at least not in our lifetime, but 2, 3, 5 generation down the line, so 500 years. That's how these numbers have.
So basically, even though these gases they get decomposed over time, but they already cause the damage of heat or the creating that's what the measure is about.
Very good. Very good.
Okay.
That's a third level of understanding. Good. So GWP measures how much heat GHG will observe, greenhouse gas will observe, part one. Part two, over a period of time. So you have to specify that period of time, which is 20, 100, and 500, for which data is available readily. If you want to calculate, there will be method, but I am not aware of. I'm not a quack to tell you which method you should use. And third part, in terms of carbon dioxide. Clear? Carbon dioxide, a specific period of time to be compared for how much heat this particular gas will absorb over a period of time. So global warming potential is an index, understand like that, like you have a stock market index. This is also an index which measures how much infrared thermal radiation a GHG would absorb. Infrared thermal radiation, okay, not a normal one. So which comes out from the earth, that radiation we are measuring here. And it has been added to atmosphere. That's why we are measuring. So there is a purpose to measure as well. GWP is calculated measuring the amount of energy a gas absorbs over a specified period of time. Commonly, people use 100 years because it is common to all, right? Even methane is little lesser lifespan period, but still 100, all of other gases are for 100 years. So better measure at 100 year and CO2 assigned to each of this measurement. That is why GWP of one serving is a baseline which CO2 gives you. So CO2 is the baseline here and rest of the gases are measured on the CO2 level. Similar like dollar. Yesterday, you remember dollar concept? In financial world, dollar is currency. In climate world, which is the currency? Tell me. What is the currency of climate world?
Carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Absolutely good. Okay, so you know this. What is the difference between weather and key difference between weather and climate? You know even which are the following contributes to modern climate change. All that stuff you are aware about, so I'm not going to repeat that. Let's go straight to Kyoto Protocol, Paris Agreement, and to last part, which is, I think we will start tomorrow. We will start tomorrow. Can everyone can spend half an hour extra tomorrow? Either we start early or we end early. Why? Because
I would prefer we end early because I'll even be late for the class.
we're watching recording video. Well, let's hear from everyone. So how many of you want to start early? Let's have your hands raised.
Sir, I'm okay.
Okay, so Ravi is okay. One person and one
I'll
person.
be in office, so either way works.
Either way works. So one is the neutral. Next one, Dr. Megha, Somnath. What about you guys?
Late
Late one.
hours.
We have 2 votes for late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also in favor for late because I reach home at 6:30 around
Oh,
after my office.
no.
6:30 to 7 I reach.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
So I believe everybody, Ravish, what about you? Are you comfortable late or early? Somnath. You guys are tiebreakers. So Ravish and Somnath. Okay, we will create a voting in the group as well. So just vote it and we will see where the more votes are and we will do that. If it is little early, 6:30 we will start. If it is little late, then we might go up to 10 o'clock. So tell your spouses to bring your dinner. Yeah, we'll go a little late because I want to cover a lot tomorrow.
Sir, but will the video be available to watch after the
Yes,
session?
yes, absolutely.
Then it's fine. Then anything is fine. I don't mind.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's break up here because I do not want to overload. Or can we do another half an hour? If we can do half an hour, then at least I will cover the global agreements. So how many of you are in favor of continuing for next half an hour?
I can.
Okay.
yes,
It's okay.
I also can.
Yes, sir.
3%,
Yes, we can.
Yes, it's okay.
4%. One more tiebreaker. Nobody is doing this tiebreaker. They are putting always on the lower side.
No, it works, it works.
2 बार बोल देने से मतलब tiebreaker. Jia is smart. We have a smart group here. Ravi.
So if you're handling something like carbon dioxide in this world, you have to be smart.
True, I agree with you. Somnath.
Yes, half an hour.
Okay, done. Then let's have half an hour. Okay. So what I'm trying to cover now is the global agreements. Now, this is a major piece in carbon accounting and ESG. If you understand global agreements and conference of parties, you understand the basics of climate change. Of course, I'm not going to get you to specialize in carbon climate science, but my job is to get you updated with whatever happening in the world, right? Specifically in this area. So you can contribute to even COP. Like recently COP happened in Dubai, Baku, all are nearby, right? We can go and contribute, listen to them and understand it better. And then in real sense, we will be contributing to climate change. Let's just start with Conference of Party. Now, Conference of Party, first of all, you have to understand, is a term which is used for those parties who are contributing towards sustainability. It was a clarion call by United Nations, where how many of you know Rio Convention, which has happened, and even prime ministers, etc., have joined that. From India, I believe Indira Gandhi has went. And at that point in time, Russia has boycotted or something has happened. Very good story there as well. How many of you are aware about Rio Convention? Okay. So that was one of those conventions where everything got up rolling. The presentation, you know, the initial sustainable development, which is a Brundtland Commission, correct? Our common goal. The book has been published. It started in 1983 with 3 goals. Then it published the report. They started taking action, and then immediately they saw that there is a huge resistance coming from 3 companies. And that was called as a black period of sustainability. Suddenly, people realize that there is a problem in ozone layer. Let's fix it up. They had fixed recently in United States. They fixed the acid rain problem in 1980s. And then they got stuck with few companies, specifically 3 companies at that point in time, lobbied together and taken a fight against United Nation. Okay. And United Nation has gone through that rough page where they have negotiated with these 3 individual companies so that they can control the ozone layer depletion. Anybody knows this name of these 3 companies at that point in time? And that is what Rio has happened. And they call every top-notch leaders of the country and said that, boss, please fix it up. We cannot only fight as a supranational body. We need national contribution as well and responsibility. Those 3 companies, I will tell you 2 of those. One was ICI. Have you heard ICI, a company? It was there in India as well as a Pent. If you have heard or not heard, it was a Pent company. Second was 3M. We respect that company, right? 3M. That has fought, tooth and nail to establish a point that they cannot stop production of naked gases in their paint, or they cannot use, any other gases. 3M was the another company. And the third company name you need to search and bring it tomorrow. Yeah, that's a homework. Now, let's understand the Conference of Party itself. So Conference of Party started when all countries' leader or representatives started coming in a forum, which was called by UNFCCC. You remember IPCC, which has happened in 88, and then in UNFCCC was formed in 1992. United Nations has formed this particular committee, financial committee, which has started organizing these conference of party where the people have been called just to discuss about how to tackle this menace. Because we do not want to fight individual corporates. We do not want to negotiate with an individual country. Let every country come to the forum, agree or disagree to major agenda, like United Nations, other bodies work. So this was the way Conference of Party in 1995, first time in Berlin happened, where everybody joined hands together, which established, and this is the major one I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all of them. We don't have time even. So I'm talking the major ones. So where it has been established, Berlin Mandate, the name is, you must have heard Montreal, etc. But Berlin was the first one in COP1, right? And launch a talk on strengthening climate. Now, Montreal is also related to WTO convention, etc. But if somebody talks about the sustainability, the first one was in Berlin. And it launched the talk officially on strengthening climate change commitment. COP3, the real stuff has happened where people have agreed, specifically a developed nation, industrialized nation, agreed to certain measures. And they adopted Kyoto Protocol, set the binding emission reduction targets for developed countries. Okay, so this has happened, and I have already described to you what exactly has happened in Kyoto Protocol. Then COP15, I will detail it again today, COP15, that what exactly is COP15, how it works, what are the different measures which has been accepted and agreed. COP15, by the way, in 2009, sorry, I'm talking about not COP15, I'm talking about COP21. So COP15 was in 2009, Copenhagen, which produced the Copenhagen Accord. There was no agreement at that point in time. And when there is no agreement, it is called non-binding, right? So it was an accord which got introduced. That first time they said we should control our temperature, Earth temperature, to 2 degrees Celsius compared to our pre-industrial levels, and warming limit to 1.5 degrees. So the terminology, it never came in Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement became Paris Agreement because there was people signed it. It became binding to them. But it has been already coined in Copenhagen, right? So this difference you should always know, because a lot of people who are naive, they will always say COP21 and Paris Agreement is the best agreement, etc. And there is a spell mistake there, which I will ask my team to address. Adopted that the Paris Agreement established legally binding framework for climate action. Of course, I have already detailed for you. Today, again, we will detail a little bit more. Now, COP26 in Glasgow, major thing happened was on the biodiversity side. So remember that. And they agreed in Glasgow Climate Pact. Again, this was not an agreement. It was not an accord. It was in between something. And that's why it is a pact. which launched that global methane pledge will be accepted by all over the world. So first time they also put not only carbon dioxide, but also methane in play. That was COP26 in 2021. 2022, Sharm el-Sheikh is very important. Anybody will tell me why it was important, or Dubai one, why it was important, apart from what is written there? Loss and damage fund was first coined. That is one thing which is very much required for adoption purposes. So whoever is doing CFA program preparation, CFA, ESG or GARP, SCR, they know the importance of loss and damage fund, right? Because there are two ways you can tackle the climate change. One is the mitigation and second is adoption. But for adoption, you require massive amount of capital, and that one country cannot afford it. Because is it my fault that I am getting hurricane, tsunami? Right? It is not my own fault. It is a fault of somebody doing some developed country which has done 50 years ago, and now I am facing the repercussion. Or a Djibouti or a Madagascar. Are those guys are the real culprit? No. And for them, there has to be a protection fund, which was loss and damage fund, which was launched in 2027, COP27 2022. Sharm el-Sheikh was also a period. Anybody remembers when Modi ji has come into play and pledged for net zero 2070? Which was that COP? Do you remember? We have discussed several times, by the way. Narendra Modi ji has done a commitment. First time, by the way, he went for a COP and he did a massive commitment.
And was it 2015 itself?
नहीं नहीं क्या बात करते हो यार कैलाश, आप इतना मीटिंग अटेंड करते हो और फिर आप बोलते हो 2015 पेरिस एग्रीमेंट में तो ऑफ कोर्स नहीं किया ना हमने हमने तो अभी किया ना पेरिस एग्रीमेंट में तो एवरीथिंग स्टार्टेड नॉट इवन चाइना डिड इन पेरिस एग्रीमेंट दैट व्हेन will achieve net zero, which was 2060. So of course India was later than China. Okay, we pledged after China pledged. So we did 2070. Find it out. That's the second work. So you have two homeworks for today.
So it was in Glasgow.
नहीं, आप चेक करो ठीक है, टाइम लो, चेक करो चैट बॉक्स में. टू होमवर्क्स हैं, दोनों आपको चैट बॉक्स में डालने हैं. दैट्स अ होमवर्क and I'm trying to see who are diligent on the homeworks. Okay, so this is how the COP works, and these are the few key ones. Of course, COP29 I have not covered, or COP30. There is a video, separate video we have already recorded. I will share with you. Watch that. All the major outcomes of COP29 and COP28 and COP29 I've already captured, and both videos are not more than 5 minutes. Watch it in your free time. All the major outcomes has been discussed there. Now let's understand what is the purpose of COP. So this conference of parties serves as a supreme decision-making body. Supreme. Why? Because it's a supranational body, which is United Nations Framework Convention of Climate Change, which organizes it. So it's a kind of initiative of supranational body, and that's why it's a supreme body, decision-making body, which works on climate change. They have this 5-point agendas, and these 5-point agenda has actually generated nationally determined contribution. Now, what is that? How it works? We will discuss it again. I do not want to overload you today. That's why I didn't wanted to do it as well today. But we will try to explain you in brief what is NDC. Yeah, it's not a heavy stuff, but once you will understand the Conference of Party, you will understand the Paris Agreement, you will automatically understand the NDC. But it has been now listed under COP. That's why I'm showing you. So they have a system which they follow. So they agree to certain aspect of operation, and then there is a process to check, make sure that it is happening, and that is that cycle which I have shown in the left hand side. It serves as a review and implementation of the convention. Okay, COP is not just a people coming and blabbering, but it is their responsibility that the reports are published to them and provided to them. It has capability to assess national communications on emission inventory. So every country's secretariat has been developed under Ministry of Economics Ministry of Forestry and Environment in India, MOFE. They have a secretarial body which reports directly to COP, and they only plan all this stuff. They make decision and promote effective implementation. And the challenges, of course, COP is not beyond challenges, and we have seen it every time. flop of America, flip flop of France, yeah, China, etc. So all those are challenges. Now, Paris Agreement I have already discussed in detail, but these are the key 6 majors which you should be remembering. So 3 I have already given you in the brief synopsis. These are those 6 outcomes which are critical for you to know. Take a screenshot in free time, just read it. Okay. Now let's understand next discussion, which is a role of carbon market. In Paris Agreement, if you see, Article 6 provides a specific provision for carbon market. This specific market, which is Article 6, was developed by under Paris Agreement. By the way, Paris Agreement is a massive document. We will discuss about that, what all it covers, etc., as well at some point in time, right? But Article 6 is one of those critical elements which has been ratified only in COP29. In Baku, people have agreed to it. A framework where international carbon market trading can happen. Because this particular article introduces the mechanism for international carbon markets, which allows even one country to trade its emission reduction to other country. Okay, this market-based approach, this is not mandatory or voluntary carbon market, but it is a market-based approach which can come from either side, encourages the cost-effective emission reduction strategy. Right now, people are opportunist. So for example, in India, it's very cheap to buy carbon. So people are using different mechanism and buying it. How many of you have heard about Google buying a biochar carbon credit for next 10 years till 2030 from a Delhi-based company, biochar company? How many of you are aware about that news? If not, just find it out and read it a little bit. You will get an idea that how carbon market is really fragile and people are trying to find opportunity. Why? Because by October, all the country has to accept and implement it. This is the first target they have accepted. Now, this market-based, of course, approach encourages that there will be cost-effective emission reduction strategy, especially for nation with limited domestic mitigation options. Yeah, a small country में जिसको solar लगाने के लिए space नहीं है, what can he do? For them, it is a mandatory requirement buy from other country and control their nationally determined contribution, which comes from setting the target. Now, NDC always comes from net zero setting of the target. For corporate, once you set the net zero target, every year you have to do a science-based or even your own based mechanism that how you are controlling it and show that progress to different bodies. In country, you have to do it also to COP, right? The secretarial body will prepare a report that how much your country has contributed to the carbon budget. Now, few of you understand carbon budget, few of you know not, do not worry. Okay, every country takes a carbon budget which gets converted into nationally determined contribution. Why nationally determined contribution has been accepted? That's the question you should be asking me. What was the need of NDC? Once everybody has agreed that, okay, 2070 is the goal, 2050 is a goal, 2030 is a goal, why NDC was even required, right? Ravi says COP26. Absolutely, Ravi. You got it right. Where Modi ji has agreed for what is our net zero targets? When our country
2070.
2070.
That's why
But that was Glasgow only, no?
correct.
Glasgow.
I just put him, let him find it out and put it.
So I was confused when you said take again.
Yes. Okay, so let's go next. So sometimes you, otherwise, how you will remember, right? Others also need to remember, right? He might be knowing, remembering whatever may be. Others also should remember. Now nobody will forget. Tell me, will you forget? Hello. Okay, now coming to role of carbon markets. So role of carbon market, NDC is one of those
So,
factors.
but ये budget, when you think carbon budget,
हाँ,
who decides it? The countries decide it in some.
नहीं, नहीं. Earth का एक limit है, which you have learned through. That is why I'm coming to you now. Actually, you should tell us what is this carbon budget and how we can control, how this sinks and emission works together, and what we should be doing in order to make it optimal. Correct? That's the bathtub concept. कि अगर टैप खुला रहेगा और नीचे प्लग को मैं रिलीज भी करूंगा, तब भी टब तो भरते रहेगा ना एक लेवल पे. क्योंकि पानी गिर रही है टब में. ओके, बाथ टब कंसेप्ट. अंशिका, पहले आप एक्सप्लेन करो, then I will answer your question and I will also explain what exactly is this concept.
Okay, sir, I'll just try. Okay. So it's basically an analogy that we use for carbon sinks. And just stop me if I'm wrong, okay? So basically the analogy goes something like this, that we take bathtub as an atmosphere. So bathtub basically represents the atmosphere, which basically holds all the gases
Correct.
like CO2 and other greenhouse gases.
Right.
So like a bathtub fills up, it is the same way as our atmosphere gets, fills up with all the gases and accumulates all the gases due to human activities or whatever
Of the
activities that we
tap,
had mentioned.
which is
Yeah,
opening of the tap, right?
yeah.
That is the human activity. Clear? Next.
Then, so that is basically the water flow, like the carbon emissions that happens due to the human activities.
Right.
Then comes the drain. So basically, here is the drain in the bathtub is like a carbon sink. So we have forest, we have mangroves, we have oceans, and other carbon sinks that basically absorb the CO2 from the atmosphere.
Correct.
Now, if there's a balance, if the amount of water that is coming and the amount of water that is outflowing from the drain is equal, then I mean, if the emission equals basically the amount that is getting sinked, then there's a balance.
Then there is no
However,
problem. Then the overflow of tub will never happen.
exactly.
Correct. Next.
However, what is happening now is that there is a lot of inflow. There's a lot of water flowing, due to which there's overflowing, and due to which the drainage that is basically represented by carbon sinks are falling short to absorb it.
Correct.
So
So outlet is little thinner than the inlet. Are you, by the way, everybody understood, or you want me to explain? If you want me to explain or add in, just say yes in the chat box. But I believe she has explained it well. But if still you want me to touch up, I am happy to do that. This is a very big concept and important concept in the carbon sinks and carbon accounting. And this is the reason you need to understand the carbon budget. Now, carbon budget is a limit which we have set for our own self, that if that threshold crosses, my sink will be ineffective completely. You ask a question, right, Anchika? Why you need carbon budget? So carbon budget is that limit which we world has set for themselves, which is 400 billion tons of carbon dioxide. Every year, how much we are doing? 55, right? So 400 tons gives us a 10-year time. Are you with me? Even though I'm emitting 53 billion tons every year, and there is a sink in the environment. And why Anjika we are talking to, because Anjika is attending CFA preparatory program for ESG, and we have covered this section. So I wanted her to try and understand and explain others so she can learn better. But point here was that carbon sink and carbon emission should be able to compensate each other. And we know it is not happening. The sinks are lesser than the emitters. And that difference is what we are worried of, because it is accumulating in the atmosphere, right? You know, GHG gas can remain in 10,000 years in the atmosphere. So the difference between the sink and the emission is our concern. And that concern is get established with a number which we have established for ourselves, which is 400 billion tons of carbon dioxide. Now, every year we are emitting 55 or 53 billion tons. There is a sink which is 20 to 29 billion tons. The difference is keep on adding in the atmosphere. Now, do you know Paris Agreement, what is the date they have set? They have set for net zero, ideally, is 2050. How many of you are aware about that? If not, remember and write in your notebook. 2050 is the date world should have carbon neutrality, because after that, we do not have budget. So this budget of 400 billions, which we have set, is only limited to 2050 timeline. If you cross that timeline, we don't have a budget. And this budget is what budget? This is the available cash. For example, a housewife keeps some cash in their jars, right? They put it in the rice jar, they will put it in, they keep it somewhere safe. Why they are keeping it? Because they know sometime we have a house expenses which exceeds our salary. And then she brings that and give it to their kids or they give it to their husband. Now that process is budget. She is budgeting it, actually. She is keeping some extra money so that she can cover up and down of the house budget. Similarly, world has this budget of carbon budget, which is approximately 400 ton. I'm just putting some numbers. These numbers are specific numbers, and we have already discussed in the other class. So if Ravi, you are also part of CFA ESG program. So why don't you check and tell us that what is that carbon budget in that graph, which we have discussed in detail for one day, I believe, that what is the carbon emission, what is the total carbon sinks happening through different processes, and the difference establishes that how many years I can keep doing this deficit in terms of Dr. Megha, right? Physical deficit, you have that deficit, and people fix in India 3.5 to 4% maximum you should have. Beyond that, you won't be able to control. Why? Because you don't have a budget. As simple as that, right? You cannot borrow even beyond that amount. Your borrowing will become very costly. Same goes to sustainability, that you cannot buy it from other people. And that is why NDCs are created for each country. Because people were not reading. If you know the precedence to Paris Agreement, people were not agreeing to sign this document. They were saying, what is the benefit for me? Am I the culprit? All this developing nation war was going on there at that point in time. So people who really wanted to sign it told them that, okay, let's do one thing. Let's agree to the common goal. Common goal is 2050 net zero. And then each country can decide its own net zero. That was first compromise. So India decided 2070, China decided 2060. Some countries decided even 2030. Nordic countries had decided 2035 as net zero based on their capability and strength. So that was first compromise. Second compromise was that each country can decide their own limits, that how much that year he will reduce. Does it make sense? Is it not a valid point that every country should decide based on their progress that how much will be their emission in that year? And that is how everybody agreed to NDCs, nationally determined contribution towards that goal of 2050, which you are seeing on the screen. Is it visible? Is it clear? Net zero emission and climate resilience should be achieved by 2050. Based on that, every country has to decide how much this year, how much next year, and then this graph comes into play. This graph will play a very big role in next 7 or 8 days, specifically when we will talk about mitigation. So remember this slide, take a screenshot, and I will be talking about it in module 4 and 5. Everyone, are you clear? It is little heavy, but don't worry, let it sink for a day and you will be very much comfortable with NDC. Now let me understand your understanding. How many of you are comfortable with word NDC first? Give me yes in chat box or say unmute yourself and say yes. If not, I want to repeat it before we close. So be honest with your own self, not necessarily with me. Okay, Dr. Megha is comfortable. I'm very happy.
I have only one question, but then how could India and China decide, they decided the years beyond 2050? Like,
Okay, so that is what I said. The compromise was that you can decide any of the days or dates based on your progress. Now, India thought if they will stick to 2050, they have only 25, 27 years to achieve, which was
right.
impossible for them, right? They have decided only in 2022, right? Glasgow, they have agreed. And every country has already decided. China decided first country who's crossed the threshold of 2050 was China, a major country. So India decided why not 10 years later. So this was their own choice based on the progress, based on the maturity of our energy system. That's why focus is on energy. Dr. Megha, you must have heard everybody talks about energy transition, just energy transition. Yesterday, Jhumur was talking about it, right? So everybody is talking about energy because the major problem comes from energy, because that sector has the highest GHG emission. And secondly, you can't transition from a coal fire to even gas. And forget about from gas to renewable to etc., which is not even reliable and established. That's why we are searching for now modular nuclear power plants, which are green, little bit green. Okay. Hydrogen is another one, which India can.
Right.
But hydrogen has another game, which is gray hydrogen, green hydrogen, all that bullshit is there. So all that is that is why people can decide. That was the compromise one, number one. You can decide any date up and down, but try to be reasonable. That's what asked by United Nation body. Okay, somebody said, what is INDC? INDC is Indian one, right? INDC क्या है भाई? एनडीसी होता है, आईएनडीसी कुछ नहीं होता है. आपको कुछ आईएनडीसी कहीं मिला क्या?
इन ग्राफ में लिखा है एनडीसी के ऊपर आईएनडीसी है.
ओ, ग्राफ में लिखा है. Okay. I don't know then. I don't know. Good. You are saying too much of graph then. INDC. I have not seen it myself. But this graph is very famous for mitigation purposes. Okay. There is, by the way, in this graph, when I will go in detail, you will see there is a portion if there is no control happening. This is a national graph, but if there is no control happening, then there is a challenge. Clear? Okay. So with that, let's end the session for today. Are you okay? Or anybody has any confusion still? Ravi?
No confusion.
No, I think just on the previous question, what you said, how come India signed on for 2070? But as you said earlier, like they had a common goal of 2050, right? Everyone. So
Yeah.
if India signed that, how did they finally agree to 27? That's what was the question, I guess.
I
was
answered
wondering
it,
about
right?
that.
What did I answer?
No, but then they signed for 2050, right? So that what was that? How does that come into the picture then?
नहीं, आप फिर नहीं समझा ना. There was certain compromise. Under compromise for the signature. Okay.
Okay.
So it is written there that 2050 is a common goal, but not necessarily everybody should match it. If
Okay.
you can achieve it earlier, they can write it achieve earlier. If you
Okay.
can achieve it little later, write it little later, but be reasonable. That was
Okay.
the condition of signature. Okay. Good. Or any other reason anybody knows, please share. Sometime I think I'm also a small piece in the big pond, so might not be knowing a lot of stuff as well. At least the national level, I'm not very because I'm not working there, right? I'm not working with World Bank. I'm not working with UNFCCC. I'm working with corporate. Ask me corporate questions. Okay. With that, we come to end of the session. You tell me what you have understood, what you have not understood. How was the session of today? If you have to rate 1 to 10, where will you rate? Okay, let me ask with Kailash. Kailash, where will you rate 1 to 10?
I knew I was going to be the first.
Huh?
No, I mean, no. I knew I would be asked first. I mean, no, I also came late, like half an hour late because I had
But
to.
still, whatever you have attended, 1 to 10, what is your rating?
About 6 because I missed the start. But apart from that, like it's always great learning.
So
So
what did you not understood? Tell me that. If
no,
that is 6,
from
then I'm worried you have not understood.
from what I heard, that was about 8, 9, and 10. Like that's
तो
not.
वही दोगे ना फिर आप जो नहीं अटेंड किया उसका आप कैसे रेटिंग दे रहे हो वो भी लोअर दे रहे हो.
It was my rating, personal rating.
पर ये गलत रेटिंग है ना. ये जो आप बोल रहे हो मुझे कब समझ में नहीं आया. 6 मतलब you have not understood anything. So
No,
then
no.
you are asking a question I can accept. Okay, let me go
Yeah.
to Ravi. Ravi, what do you rate?
So I think I've understood everything. So I would rate out 10 out of 10.
Okay, good. Anchika, what will you rate? Because you guys have attended our program. So where was this session compared to those?
No, the session was very nice. Just the NDC carbon budget, I'll just look more into it.
Okay,
Baki, it was all nice.
fair. Dr. Megha, where do you rate? Ashok, where do you rate?
I understood everything that we discussed today. And as Anshika shared, yes, as we would progress in discussing carbon budget, I think we'll learn a little more. So 9, 10 from my side.
Thank you. No, thoda homework to definitely you have to do because if you understood everything in class, then there is no homework required. And still we have 10 people, right? So 10 people, you need to put little effort as well. Good point there. Ashok, आपको कैसा लगा? How did you feel about this session?
मेरा बैकग्राउंड तो फाइनेंशियल है, फाइनेंशियल टैक्सेशन अकाउंटिंग का, तो मैं slowly grasping कर रहा हूँ ये.
Okay.
I can accommodate, I think.
So where will you rate 1 to 10?
Yeah.
Where will you rate in 1 to 10 scale, where will you rate? You're trying to understand. I can understand you might be struggling with the concept.
Yeah, it may be 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So your understanding is really poor. Where you lack? Tell me where you are lacking.
Until I attended all your sessions,
Right,
near about 3, 4.
right,
Now I understand how it can be effective from 25 and onward.
right, right. So, what is you are not able to understand in today's session? Tell me that area, so at least I know. And then I meet
Understand?
tomorrow again, I will try to address that.
Yeah, I understand what the concept is now.
नहीं, आपने 4 or 5 रेटिंग किया, तो definitely some area you have not understood, right? Then
Yeah,
what's the
that was
rating
feedback.
where I have lacked. So what
नहीं
is that
पहले
rating?
लेकिन तो इतना सीरियसली दे नहीं लिया था उस पहले
अच्छा, अच्छा, तो आपने उसको नहीं लिया, तो आप मुझे रेटिंग गंदा दे रहे हो. That is not fair, actually. That is not fair. So if you are not taking it seriously because you are doing something else, then that's not fair. That's not good. Okay, let me go to somebody else. Because I really got worried if 4, 5 is the rating. Bala, Vijay, how much you rate? 1 to 10.
Sir, I don't have anything to rate. Actually, what I have to say, like, no, it's actually it's all new for me. Like every day I take notes, and the next day I'll sit and prepare for the next day. So as usual, I have a lot of notes. I've taken a lot of notes, which I have to go through so that I can be like, it's definitely a very good session. Like, all the information are very, very new to me.
So if you have to rate, ठीक है, मतलब आपको कुछ homework करना पड़ेगा because you have no exposure to certain area. But still, if I have to rate by concept wise, because I'm judging myself, which area I need to focus tomorrow. For example, Kailash said, Anchika said NDC. So I might take up that once more and try to explain it, right? Like I did today, climate action. Few of you came back to me and said that, explain to me greenhouse gas impact once more. And I did it. I believe that concept today is clear for everyone, right? Greenhouse gas, कितने लोगों को समझ में नहीं आया? Let me ask the hard question. How many of you have not understood? You have understood, right, Ashok? आप at least वो greenhouse gas तो पूरा समझ गए.
You're asking me, sir? Are you asking me?
Yeah, miss, I'm asking all of you. So either I was able to explain because last lecture, few of you came back and said that वो greenhouse gas was not very clear. So today I have captured that understanding, even for the kids' point of view, right? So do you think that idea is completely clear or there is any doubt there, Somnath?
For me, it's clear, sir.
Okay, good.
Easy. I understood.
सोमनाथ, आपको क्या लगा? आप तो वेस्ट में काम करते हो, so you must be knowing all this. Sorry, we are not able to hear you. Your voice is cracking. Okay. Let me go to Ashok. Did you understood at least the greenhouse gases, Ashok? आप समझ पाए?
I understood the gases and or the categories of the gas.
Perfect.
And
Very well.
yeah.
So I believe you also got stuck with NDC in that case. That was the area where you thought I would have put more emphasis.
Yes.
Okay, fair. So NDC is that area which we will try to. Okay, not a problem. We'll try to cover that once more. Clear? So that's good. So I know where I'm standing right now, somewhere between 4 and 6.
No, let me tell you, sir, like in terms of your teaching is always 10 because any doubts when I always ask and I always get the answer back. So that's not a problem at all.
Just saying that if some concept I am unable to deliver, I would like to.
I was giving you 6 based on my performance on today. That's what I mean, not your rating.
Your performance is my performance right now.
Not yet. So don't judge yourself by my performance. I'm still learning. By the way, is the third company Rio Tinto?
Rio Tinto.
Now I am audible.
Sorry? Somnath.
Hello, Mr. Suman.
Yeah,
now I am audible.
Yes, you are. Now
yes. No. It was a very good session. Everything is well explained, and I understand almost everything. So I will give the rating 9 out of 10.
Nice, very nice. Thank you. Nice of you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. No, most of you have rated well, but I just wanted to check which area still I need to focus on. So good. We will start tomorrow with NDC, and then we will go into new topics. Specifically, we will enter tomorrow with ESGPro 5 steps to GHG inventory. So anybody who wants to read it, go and read. I will send you a document tomorrow morning, which will be GHG protocol document. Okay, we will start reading that. And I will tell you which area you need to read tomorrow evening in the class itself, that where you need to focus, so that day after tomorrow, when we start using that document, you exactly know where you to read it. That's why I'm recommending tomorrow you need to go and read or understand, see the table of content of that specific book, which is Corporate GHG Carbon Accounting Protocol Reporting document. Tomorrow morning you will have it. It's a 100-page document. Start getting used to it. Fair? Everyone, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care.
So was it Rio Tinto, the third one?
No. अभी आप सर्च करो, कल बात
नहीं,
करेंगे.
मुझे गूगल में दिखा रहा है, इसलिए पूछ रहा
गूगल
हूँ.
में
इज
दिखा
इट
रहा
राइट?
है. गूगल में दिखा रहा है. गूगल, मालूम है आजकल गूगल का रिजल्ट इज मोस्ट डाउटफुल.
इसलिए तो पूछ रहा हूँ. अदरवाइज आई वुड से कॉन्फिडेंटली ना. So
कल
it says 3M ICI and Rio
Let
Tinto. I
others
don't know if
also
it's
search. No, ICI है, मिल गया आपको, राइट? दैट
हाँ,
इज
वो तो मैंने डाल दिया, आप ही ने बोला था तो.
3M भी मिल गया आपको.
हाँ
थर्ड कंट्री अभी ढूंढो आप, क्योंकि वो स्टोरी फिर पता चलेगी. आप सर्च करोगे ना, ऐसे आप नाम बता दो
हाँ.
तो आपको स्टोरी नहीं मालूम चलेगी.
अच्छा, हाँ,
तो
वो तो पता
स्टोरी
नहीं.
इतना डार्क फेज ऑफ सस्टेनेबिलिटी रहा है.
हाँ.
आप सोचो, एक बच्चा अभी चलने के एज में आया है, एंड द मोमेंट ही इज ट्राइंग टू स्टैंड, समबडी इज पुशिंग हिम डाउन.
Oh.
वो पोजीशन थी उस समय सस्टेनेबिलिटी की. एंड दैट टाइम दीज थ्री इंडिविजुअल कंपनीज, आप समझ रहे हो,
Yeah.
has sorry, नहीं, we could not hear you, Somnath ji. So that story is important. Name is not important. आप कैलाश कभी भी मेरे एक वर्ड से इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होइएगा.
नहीं, I will read more about it if it's right. That's what I meant.
स्टोरी देखिए, आप वहां पे स्टोरी
Okay.
देखिए तो ऑटोमेटिकली
Okay.
पता चलेगा तीसरा कौन था और क्यों था. And
अच्छा.
why he was able to dictate such a hard term that UN body has to sit with a corporate. Right? That's a massive. And that time United Nations was an influential body. Right now they are not, because they are messed up with every area. Yeah. They are a mostly agenda oriented system now. Country like India even doesn't count them a good institution. Trump तो उनको discard ही करके रखा है. So we need to know the story behind it. Okay,
Okay.
that
I'll check it
will
out.
make you a better person as a climate action.
Yeah.
Right? चलिए, और हो तो कहीं अगर फाइंड करें आप, इफ यू फाइंड एनी नेटफ्लिक्स स्टोरी अबाउट इट, प्लीज शेयर विद एवरीवन. दिस इज योर टाइम
Definitely.
गोइंग फॉरवर्ड. शेयर
Definitely.
एज मच एज इंफॉर्मेशन यू कैन.
Sure. Okay.
चलिए, टेक केयर, बाय बाय,
Okay.
गुड
Bye
नाइट.
bye. Thank you.
Thank you.